In this video, you will learn how a typical sanitary sewer system is constructed. Any type of new construction that will have people occupying the space will generally have provisions for wastewater disposal. As a construction manager, it is important that you have a working understanding of the construction of wastewater collection systems. In general, there are two types of wastewater systems. The first would be a private system. In its simplest form, it might be simply a septic system for a single-family residence, and in its most complex form, it might be a major building or resort complex with its own on-site treatment plant. The second type of system would be a public system. In a public system, all wastewater is collected at the property line and transported to a public treatment plant for disposal. The focus of this video will be on the second type, the public wastewater system. At a high level, we can visualize the public system as having three major components. The collection system that services all types of occupied buildings. The major trunk or interceptor lines that collect and carry the wastewater from smaller collection lines to the regional wastewater treatment plant, and the regional wastewater treatment plant itself. Let's consider some of the things that are unique about public water collection systems. You are probably aware of the first aspect. That is that the flow of raw wastewater all the way to the treatment plant is by gravity. This means that the pipelines must be installed at an exacting gradient to ensure continuous and uninterrupted flow. Secondly, because of the nature of untreated wastewater, the system is closed from the moment the wastewater enters the fixture until it reaches the treatment plant. Other than the small lines coming out of a building, all sewer lines must be installed perfectly straight to maintain flow velocity. The individual runs of pipe are connected by concrete manholes at any number of locations, such as about every 400 feet to provide access for maintenance, whenever the pipe must change direction, whenever other lines must connect, and whenever the gradient must change. In terms of the construction plans, generally both a plan view and a profile view is shown. Here's an example then of part of a profile view from an actual project in Birmingham. If you are not familiar with profile views, you may want to look at the video titled Graphic Conventions for Civil Construction Plan and Profile Views. We can see the individual manholes identified by number along with their rim and invert, that is bottom flow line elevations. And then the individual runs of pipe with the type of pipe, PVC in this case. The diameter, the length, and the slope required are also shown. And if you look at the left side, we can see the existing manhole that this new line will be connecting into. And on the upper right corner, we can see a detail of a typical precast concrete manhole. Because of the varying depths, pipe sizes, line angles, etc., each manhole will be individually manufactured and identified for each specific location on the project. The last unique point to understand is that any wastewater treatment plant has a finite capacity, usually expressed in terms of millions of gallons per day. Because treatment plants are costly and time-consuming to build, it is common that connections are restricted or even prohibited sometimes until new plants are brought online. Sometimes this is a real barrier to any new development. And also, because of the capacity limits, there is always a concern about groundwater leakage or infiltration into the sewer lines. Okay, let's focus on the parts of the wastewater collection system that would service a typical project. The line or lines that take the wastewater from the building are called services or laterals, and they connect to the collection lines in nearby streets or easements. In most cases, the transition from the private building lines to the public maintained lines will take place at the property line. Here's a simple illustration. So here's a house, and we see the lateral connecting to the main in the street at the property line. And we also see that there are cleanouts provided near the building and then once again near the property line where the public lines begin. Because the lines must continually slope downward, sometimes the lines will become too deep to economically install. In that case, The wastewater will be collected in a lift station, which is simply a large manhole with multiple electric pumps, and then it will be pumped up and under pressure to another gravity discharge point. Here's a plan segment from an elementary school in Birmingham. Let's start with the upper right hand corner and take a look at some of the sanitary lines. And let me get a highlighter for this. In the upper right then we see the main sanitary line to which the smaller building service lines will be connected. And let me change colors here. Notice the manholes, and we see here and here and here and here whenever the direction of the pipe changes. Let's look at some of the building lines, and these are labeled SS, and they connect the last two to the last two manholes. From the far right, so we're looking over here, SS, and over here. From the far right, we see two lines that probably service bathrooms, and then to the immediate left is a line with a special acid trap. Okay, see this line coming out here and joining the manhole? This is probably from some type of a laboratory classroom. On the far left side, we see a line that services a dumpster pad, and that's right here, service from the dumpster. And there's also a covered and curbed can wash for washing out garbage cans. And there's also a line here then that probably comes out of a kitchen, because this all flows through two grease traps before then it joins the system and the manhole. So in total we have 6 different lines from the school building. In terms of materials, on the upper left we see some precast manhole segments, and to the right an inventory of PVC sanitary pipe. Usually sanitary pipe is green or white in color. And to the left of that we see a trench box lying on its side. The trench box is inserted into the trench, and then the pipe layers work inside the box, which is pulled along by the excavator for safety protection. In the lower left we see PVC lined ductile iron pipe, which is used in areas where high strength is required or where the pipe will be exposed above ground. In the case of this sanitary line, it was to be installed across a stream at a low point on the site. And finally on the right we see a PVC sanitary line installed with 2 smaller service lines running off of it. Here we have a few installation pictures. Top left is a sanitary manhole installed on a very rocky project in Nashville. And to the right we see a crew working in another part of the site that didn't have the rock. Lower left is what is called a jack and bore operation, where pipe can be pushed behind a horizontal drill when surface excavation is not allowed, such as under a busy road or highway. And finally, on the lower right we see a manhole frame without the cover sitting on an installed manhole in Florida. Let's wrap this video up with a quick look at some of the management concerns you will need to consider for wastewater collection system construction. Generally, sewers are installed in public property and will be accepted and become part of a local municipal system. Part of the acceptance process will be testing of the lines for any infiltration, that is leakage, of groundwater into the system, and also the video recording of all lines to check for any trash or deflections that may impede the flow of wastewater. From the project management side, working in trenches is very hazardous, and absolute conformance to OSHA safety policies must be maintained. The non-public sections of the pipe also need to be inspected for the benefit of the owner and contractor's quality control. And proper compaction and testing of all trench backfill should be required to prevent settlement gullies at a later date.